Welcome to the Marine Advisory Board meeting for Thursday, December 7th. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody happy Hanukkah who celebrates. It's first night of Hanukkah, which I'm assuming is also why the mayor's a little late. He's planning to join us later on. Let's start with a roll call, please. Carla?
Mr. Harrison,
Here.
Mr. Flanagan, absent. Mr. McLaughlin.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Ms. Chirelli, absent. Mr. Brunel.
Here.
Ms. Norvell.
Here.
Mr. Franks.
Here.
Mr. Boyer, absent. Mr. Knott, absent. Ms. George.
Here.
Mr. Washington, absent. Mr. Repholz, absent. Mr. Walker,
Here.
and Chair Witten.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Sergeant O'Neill, if you'd be kind enough, hopefully there's nothing earth shattering that's happened over the last month, but we're going to grill you for sure. So give us an update.
So nothing earth shattering at all. We had no GPS is stolen, zero. The only thing crime of note was a stolen dinghy from one of the anchored vessels north of Las Olas. That's the only really thing that of note that was a crime. We had 38 calls for service in the month of November, and we wrote 68 citations. Just want to talk about a couple of things that's happened that people may have seen and maybe have questions about. The boat that washed up behind the Mayan Resort is not a smuggling boat or a migrant boat or anything like that. It was a gentleman who lives in Lauderhill, was out fishing, and he lost his engines, and then I don't know why he didn't throw his anchor, but he didn't, and his boat had washed ashore, which caused it from being a tow to a salvage, and he can't afford the salvage. So we're working on getting that boat out of there right now. Getting it towed out of there because it's like, I think it's the $18,000 salvage, and the guy doesn't have the money. So he will probably be charged criminally with dumping. Since one of the other things he also did was he went back and tried to take off the registration numbers on the side of the boat. So that, I mean, you're showing yourself a little guilt there by doing that, instead of just having a mistake out there. Also, probably everybody's seen, but I'll touch on it. The burger gallant lady in the river is finally gone. She got pushed out of there last week, so she's gone. No more eyesore, no more oil spill, fuel spill. So that's good. That's a great thing. The state finally came and got it. Next Saturday is.
Excuse me, let's have a moment of silence, please. It is gone. It is gone because, and I'll tell you something, for what it's worth, I don't know where he is, but my guess is if John Luscombe was on the case, it would have been gone a lot earlier. And arson. So, that was not Fort Lauderdale, if I'm correct. So it's a different world there. And that's KBM towing. So thank you.
Yep, it was actually a property that was tied to the property in Davie, city of Davie. I don't think they deal with very many derelict vessels over there. But the state took over it, and it takes longer to the state. So she's gone. Next Saturday, the 16th, is Winterfest Boat Parade. All of my officers will be out there. All 8 of us will be out there. Plus, we'll have 7 other jurisdictions. Boats will be out there as well. So we're looking forward to that. And today we finally received our boat back. Those get the diesel engines put on, and we were doing testing today, prop testing, everything. So we're still doing testing, but so far it looks pretty promising.
Oh, damn. So I have to check that off my list because I made a note to check in with you on the progress of the Cox diesel. So that sounds like it's underway.
Yep.
I also made a note to check in just in general, how your boats, motors are holding up, our staffing, do you have everything you need, et cetera. And we certainly as a board want to make sure that we have adequate equipment.
Yes.
Not necessarily our area, but we're going to make sure it is.
I will say that manpower wise, I mean, we could always use more manpower. And the department as a whole is short-handed, so in turn, we're gonna be short-handed. We can definitely get the job done. I would like to see one more officer soon. That way, because I have 2 different squads, and I have a squad of 4 and a squad of 3. So if I had 2 squads of 4, then that would just make things easier, more balanced. All the boat hulls are in good condition. We do have some boats with some serious hours on them. We are working towards replacing them, but it takes time, not only with funding, but once you get them funded, just the resource of getting the engines is long. But once you order them, it's months before you actually get them. So we're working towards that. I just found out that the grant that we applied for, I knew we had got approved, and I saw that it went before commission on Tuesday, and commission approved it. So hopefully we'll be purchasing those engines for one of our boats soon. I still have another boat that has about 4,000 hours right now. Go back to zero. So we're working towards it. Chief Schultz, who's just sworn in the other day, he's very supportive of us, and so I'm currently gathering information on purchasing a new boat, a big boat, as well as some flat style boat. I'm working on that right now. Hopefully we can work through some of the red tape and get it going.
You definitely need an enclosed boat, that goes for sure. And you need a flats boat if we have another flood, Jim.
Have you been utilizing the MLake grant?
Yes.
All of it, or?
Yeah, I mean, we typically, within the year, we use the like 77%. We don't, I don't think we've ever really used it all. But we're usually above 70%, which makes it pretty happy to reuse that much. So we got refunded again for next year.
Okay.
So we've been doing well with it.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else from anybody? Any questions? As always, pleasure. Thank you very much. The next item of business is introduction of our new city attorney, Thomas Ansbro. I had reached out to Tom shortly after you joined and asked him to meet with us. And it's interesting. I reach out to a lot of the folks in the town. I won't mention names, but some don't respond. If they do, it's a curt response, et cetera. I get a genuine warm response from Tom thanking us. And I think it's critical. If a waiver somehow makes, or a permit makes its way to Tom, and he doesn't know who's involved here and how much thought process goes into this and how seriously we take this. So to some extent, it's self-serving, but it is a pleasure to introduce Tom. I looked online, I had the damnedest time trying to find a bio on you.
I've been trying to hide out.
Well, you get no pictures, no pictures whatsoever.
There's reasons,
No
look.
pictures. What I do know is that Tom was previously the city attorney in Dania Beach. I also understand you were previous magistrate in Fort Lauderdale.
And for about 9 other cities.
Yeah, and graduated University of Florida Law School. With that, I'm going to give the floor to Tom and
Okay.
welcome you.
Thanks, everybody, for inviting me. I appreciate him reaching out to me. Like the opportunity to be here to meet with you. I will tell you, I rely heavily on this guy. I worked with him years ago. I actually worked in Fort Lauderdale, one of my very first jobs. And this will tell you how old I am, so be careful. But I started in the mid-70s, let's say. And I started as a young city attorney at that time. And was a city prosecutor, moved over into City Hall as an assistant city attorney, worked my way through and stayed there 12 years to be the deputy city attorney. As I did that, just to give you an idea, Bob could probably tell you this story, because he's heard it 18 times. But I had the opportunity to do all kinds of things. I was the attorney for the Board of Adjustment, the Planning and Zoning Board, the Civil Service Board, the Police and Fire Board, and the General Employees Pension Board. I created the Code Enforcement Board, it was brand new. I prosecuted cases before the Code Enforcement Board. I did jury trials for the city. A lot of, defending the police on a lot of cases, and won most of the jury trials, I'm proud to say. I did a lot of appeal work for the Board of Adjustment and Planning and Zoning Board, and I was successful in a lot of those cases as well. In the Fourth District Court of Appeal, which is our Court of Appeal, and had a couple of cases in the Florida Supreme Court, and one even in the US Supreme Court on pleadings, they call it, on certiorari. But it was a wonderful time to learn the city, and sort of grew up here, moved down here from Cleveland years ago. And then when I left, I began to go work at a couple private firms, worked at FAU for a while, about 6 years. A friend of mine was the plantation city attorney. He said, could you come help me do plantation? I need help. So I did some time at FAU, some time at plantation. They needed me in plantation. I stayed there. And then when the city attorney for Dania went to heaven, there was a request for proposals. I went to go apply for that. And I had been there for 22 years. That's a long run with a lot of politicians, survived that long. But, you know, at that point, there comes a point, you gotta move on. And then I went out, like I was just telling you, I picked up a lot of code compliance hearings for about 10 different cities, including with that young lady there in Boca doing their cases and their parking cases, which I enjoyed. But I will tell you that in my period of time between leaving Fort Lauderdale and now coming back, I had tried to come back a couple of times to be the city attorney if it was going to work out. Didn't work out for reasons that are beyond what you can do. Here's the mayor. And
His lap?
Supposed to sit there, but you know what happens.
I'll move it. These lawyers will take over.
Down there.
Here's a chair.
Okay, thank you.
He gets a comfy chair.
Okay, thank you.
So we've just, so if anybody doesn't know, this is our mayor.
Hello, everybody.
Gracious enough to join us.
Sorry.
So Mayor, that cheers. You obviously know our new city attorney is kind enough to give us an update on how he ended up here and what his plans are, et cetera. And our premise in inviting him was there's an old story, keep your friends close, your enemies closer. We're all about keeping. And I would
Yeah, no way.
we're all about keeping our friends closer.
Good.
And so, you know, I'm diverting, but it's okay. Dean is a great friend of the board. And I say that because he understands the waterfront. I understand Tom does as well. There's another attorney here that just shows up every damn one and also understands it. So we have a great team, but we have a great team because we have great leaders. So we thank you all for that. Tom, did we cut you off? You want to?
Well, I just want to let the people know that in between leaving football when I first started and all those years that went by, there were 2 occasions I applied to be the city attorney because it didn't open up. For reasons it just didn't work out in both cases, but something's like in your heart when you start out here, you'd like to come back and complete your service. Now I have the opportunity with the mayor's help and others come back and do that. I can tell you, it's an amazing thing to do. The daunting job. It's the word I use all the time is intense because you can't go to the bathroom without coming back to 25 emails. You go, what? Where were you people? What,
We keep you busy.
I just go back, but I got now I'm swamped. So, but you know what? You are never bored. I'm still meeting the people. I'm still meeting the people. There's a lot of people to meet, and I'm starting to recognize people. And like I said, with this guy, Bob has been. I worked with him years ago, not for a long time, but we stayed in touch for all these years. And now that I work with him on a daily basis, I'm impressed by his knowledge of all kinds of things. He's very, very intense about what he does with the water.
Intense dogs that understand.
I'll give you that $10 bill, I promise you later on.
It's gone up to 20.
I would like to ask. I've been around the city attorney's office since, what, about 1983, doing the code enforcement and so on and so forth. I've seen high water marks. I've seen low water marks.
So
Tom is one of the high water marks.
thank you. You're very kind.
All right.
So it's an honor, and I appreciate the mayor having the confidence to give me a chance to do this job as for other commissioners. I'm getting to know my way around. It's a lot of work and it's something you enjoy doing because I have really good people with which to do this work. And I'm starting to shape the office the way I would like to see it, bringing a couple of new people, moving things around. But when I met with the mayor and others, they told me sometimes the city attorney's office has got a reputation that needs to improve. That is my job, and I intend to get this job improve, this office improved. Working very hard to do it, working on different personalities. You can all imagine what it's like to have about 30 people working. There's some conflicts, you know, they're just on. I'm working my way through those, and those are tougher than the actual legal part of it. But I'm going to get there, and we're going to have an office we'll all be proud of. The office when I first got it, would be proud of. Let's say maybe prouder. This gentleman does a lot of work, as you know. He's very passionate about the city. Heard him at the state of the city, and I haven't been back here to hear what's going on, but to hear him give this oration of what's going on here, it is just amazing. It lets you know you live, we work in a world-class city. In this city, as we know, everybody knows the city by name. But now they're gonna know it for other things different than by name. Because of all the nice things that you people do to help protect it and make it better. And you do that every time you meet, go through these different things to fix things. It's important and you're doing a job from what I see.
Well,
So thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, you talked about passion. We've all asked the mayor for a raise and he said no again.
You gotta look at that budget.
But the bottom line is we do this as a passion. We do this as a passion for the community we love. So it means a great deal that you joined us. Understand it's a two-way street. You need something from us, et cetera, please reach out. What we're hoping to accomplish over the next couple of years, we need your help. So we appreciate it. And thank you. Mayor, we have, I checked with Zach and he said you have some time, but I'm also sensitive to your schedule. We have a dock waiver. It will take a few minutes to go through. Do you have time to do that or would you like us to move on? I can hold off.
Well, I'll be honest with you. First of all, thank you for inviting me tonight. I really didn't come with anything prepared except to meet all the new members. I understand.
So let's take a few minutes.
Yeah,
Okay?
let's take a
So
few
let's do that.
minutes. Let's do that.
So first of all, let me go to my notes because you screwed me up now. Okay. So we have Bill Walker has been gracious enough with Jimmy and some of the other folks here to give a presentation on the Winterfest Boat Parade, what's coming. The other thing we have, Eric Metz is here from Los Olas Marine Issue to decide to get an update, and Eric has promised us a very exciting video. With respect to why you're here, it's just what you said. We feel like it's just year-end catch-up, getting to know you. There are some new members of this board. We don't pull punches back. I want to say a couple of years ago, I brought this up many times. The mayor had stated to us that the board had a history of rubber stamping, dock waivers, permits, et cetera. There's no issue with that. That was the perception. So we've worked hard to change that perception. We do stay in touch with the commissioners after each meeting, et cetera. But again, we'll get back to that word passion. We truly care about this community and what we're doing. And if it appears we're fumbling, I sure as hell would appreciate if you let us know as well. So.
Well, I think it's important that the mayor show a presence at these advisory board meetings, because I don't want anyone who volunteers your time, takes the sacrifice away from your personal life to come here and to assist the commission in trying to make decisions on what's important. Certainly our waterways are probably the most important thing in the city. And, away from your families and your friends, and here it's holiday season. And tonight's the first night of Hanukkah, and you're all like sitting in a marine advisory board. It's like we really appreciate it. I have to tell you, it makes me feel good that the work that we try to do, commission, is appreciated by everybody. And I want you to know that we are people just like you are. And anytime you have a question or concern, ask Zach.
He switched very.
I figured that out.
But Zachary's here. He's works in our office. He tries to respond to our needs, and if he can't respond, then he comes to me. And we need to be a responsive government. So, you're all stakeholders here in our community. Many of you have lived here for many, many years. And I think that we appreciate what's happening in our city. The growth, the excitement. And with the growth and excitement comes challenges. I mean, let's face it, we're crowding ourselves in. The New River is losing capacity to allow boats to be docked along people's front backyards. So it's like, but we can do things and do things right, do things together, do things in spirit and with faith. And I think that I have to tell you, in the last 3 or 4 years, I feel that we have a much better rapport with the Marine Advisory Board. I feel so much closer to the work that you do. And I never want you to feel that there's any sort of barrier between us, because this is very, very important that we always have the ability to connect with someone just walk out. So. They're coming back, dragging that.
We'll just check that for us.
Well, it's interesting, I was meeting with Andrew the other day, and I was referring to Fort Lauderdale. I always refer to Fort Lauderdale as a town. And Andrew said to me, it's not a town, we're not a town, we're a city. Mr. Flanagan.
Stranger, how are you? Yeah.
So Andrew said, we're not a town, we're
We're a city now, we're a city.
But my feeling is, and my product is that I grew up, Chosa grew up in a small community. And we called that a village, I think. So Andrew told me you got a village and then you got a city. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is a town. And it's town to me because of the vibe you create. I mean, the fact that you just came from Hanukkah, this is a large city that truly has a small community vibe. And I thank you for that.
And I think that's what is our appeal, you know. I ran into somebody last night, we were at the Central Beach Alliance at a holiday party. And you know, I don't go to enough parties, so I decided.
And we kept you there a long time.
It's okay. So as, and I ran into this gentleman who just moved to the beach 2 years ago. And he introduced himself and his wife. And he said, I love this town because, first of all, he said, there's so much going on. He said, every single day I there's something happening that really makes me feel like I can be connected to the community. It's not, you know, you go to other cities and things are like, you don't feel like you can participate because you feel alienated from what's going on. He said here in Fort Lauderdale, there is so much connectivity to the average person who wants to be part of it. And I thought, well, that's amazing. Love to hear that, right? And I think that's important. He said, and this is a strange comment. He said, I pass homeless people on the beach. He said, even they are friendly to me. He said it was just an amazing experience coming from where he came from, which his wife comes from Brooklyn and he comes from another city. But the thing is, I remember when I first moved here in '82, everyone thought we had to be like a. And the one lesson I learned 20 years ago, first became a Christian, was I don't want to be like anybody else. We have our own identity. We have our own vibe, our own architecture, our own history, you know, and I said, let's mold that into who we can be as a community, because that's who we are. And people come here for that reason. They come here because of things that we've been able to create. I can tell you a lot of celebrities that live here, okay? They don't want to be known that they live here. They don't want the celebrity of who they are. You go to Miami, it's all about being a celebrity. And that's what they are. I love Miami. I love Miami Beach. There's so much going on there, but I also love coming. And I think that we can continue to foster that. A lot of it has to do with the green way of life. Let's face it, that we are the Venice of America. And the fact that the green way of life, I think, is all about, you know, being with friends, being with family, connecting to the sea. And that's a very leveling kind of grounding experience, you know. And one thing I learned going out into the water is you're very humbled by the experience because nature kind of takes over, right? And I think that, you know, what you do here on this board helps promote and foster that community, our community, marine industry, the yachting community. I love the fact that we are the yachting capital of the world. This last boat show was probably one of the best we've had, right? We have to continue that every year. People come from all over the world to see who we are, and the way we're able to make the experience of being in Fort Lauderdale better and better every year. EMR finally is going to be developed. We'll have some great experience there with a new hotel. We don't have to have lunch every time we attend. We can actually go to a nice restaurant. You know, it's really, I have to tell you, I sometimes have to pinch myself that I'm the mayor of a city like this, because this is an amazing city. we just, we had a conference here 2 weeks ago. Mayors from 35 cities from around the country came here and they tell me, they say, this is a place where people can truly live. He said, I'm the mayor of Cleveland. I wish I lived here. I had lunch last week with a baseball star. I'm not a big baseball follower, but we have a baseball star that lives here, JD Martinez. Right, he plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but he's building a house on Sunrise Key. Why? Because he loves Fort Lauderdale. He's like, I can live anywhere in the country. He said, he's building us a big house, he's gonna pay us $300,000 a year in taxes.
And wants to get involved with.
He wants to get involved with the community.
He does, I mean, the problem is he probably plays baseball in March, but he wants to get involved with the community. He grew up in South Florida. He happens to be an extra broker, but he's just, this is a guy, again, he's only 35 years old, but he wants to really pay back the community that he enjoys so much. And that's a huge testimony.
It is. And when people say they can live anywhere, they choose here, it's because what you have all helped to creating a way of life that I think is unique to Fort Lauderdale. We should be proud of that. We should be aware that you've created that. So that's really,
Look at what you brought here.
well.
The problem is the guy paid $500 million and the only place you can park is amongst our tankers. But meanwhile,
Did he get lost in the Bermuda Triangle?
that you talk about a testament to a yachting community. That happens to be Jeff Bezos, but
Yeah.
he's docked here. Unfortunately, he's still a little big to get under the bridge. But again, this is someone who enjoys being in the yachting capital of the world. You know, and a lot has to do with the reputation of the community, and that comes back to your administration. I have a couple questions, and I'm gonna throw it out to the board, but I don't think I'm gonna, but I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask. No, listen to me. Here's, because we talked about, what questions do we want to ask the mayor? Do we want to talk about, the problems that we're dealing with? And so I'm assuming you're aware. And we can follow up in written correspondence. I think what I prefer to know is what goals do you have that we could be instrumental in like implementing?
It's just an overarching goal of trying to maintain quality. In other words, safe passageways. We want to make sure that people who own land on their waterways certainly get to enjoy it. They want to be able to dock their boats there, but at the same time, we're trying to find ways to ensure that, we're reducing commercials on the waterways. I don't want people thinking that they can set up a business because they're on the water. Be very careful about that. That's where our code enforcement has to really be more aggressive. We also are very concerned about pollution. Right? Liverboards that dump in the waterways or people, it's just the discharge into the waterways is really something that's very hard to monitor.
Just a double amen.
It's very difficult, but that's important because our waterways, people swim in them. And I think that, we want to maintain marine life, recreational activity in our waterways. We have to maintain the quality of water. And that's a lot, it's our life. So if we destroy that, we destroy ourselves.
I think that and I'll throw it to the board, but I actually have made a note that I'm really dreaming of the day when I'm not even a kid anymore. The kids are too old to do it. But maybe my grandkids at some point can actually swim in the canal and maybe the porpoises go through, et cetera. But it's something that is one of the initiatives we hope to deal with. So
Well, there's that sandbar over there. People go in the island. It's pretty clean. Actually. I mean, it looks. No, but it's pretty clean.
I agree over there.
So we have some, we haven't gone to that tipping point where it's usable. We're not the true best. But we have to be the watchdog of our world. So if you're not the, it may be beyond the purview of the Marine Advisory Board, but I think that it's a challenge. I think that we should consider because finding ways to ensure enforcement of preventing dumping, preventing misuse and abuse and all of these. That's important to everybody. You take a jet ski, jet skis many times, right, you're coastal, trying to preserve, the quality of life where people respect, no wake zones. Again, it's enforcement, but it's hard for us to have, an enforcer. But we gotta think of ways to try to make sure that the quality of life is maintained so that everyone respects to enjoy the canals, the coast.
It seems like everything we do, everything always comes back to communication enforcement. And enforcement's great, but we hope it doesn't make its way to Marco or Travis, et cetera. We hope that we can communicate some of these things so it doesn't go that way. Anybody have questions for Mayor, please? Well, this is,
Well, so in a couple of weeks, we have our boat parade.
we have a boat parade.
We're excited about that.
We have a presentation, there's Thomas Meet on the boat parade, and we have a presentation on the Las Olas Marina, who's to hang around. But my guess is you. Not, so.
Yeah, I need
Before you go,
the Lake Ridge Civic Association.
before you go, we have a gift.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was a ride on the yacht.
It's not there right
I've owned stock at Amazon for so long.
Yeah.
I was so upset you didn't offer me. I really was. So Merry Christmas from the board. We appreciate you.
All right.
I think that was gonna happen.
Can't watch that. You didn't see it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everybody keeps saying you have an amazing voice.
For those of you who attended the swearing in ceremony by the police chief, Zach and Amber Cabrera of our city staff did a duet of the Star Spangled Banner.
Amazing.
First time I've ever heard it.
Amazing.
It was amazing. Thank you. So.
Happy holidays. Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Nice seeing you again. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
I want to thank you all. It was nice to meet
Thanks.
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
You would know that I told you, but we're here, this office is really helping whatever you're trying to do. This is my main man to do that. I will also be there. The city attorney, whatever I have to do involved with you guys do well.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Everybody-
Thank you for joining us.
Have a great holiday.
Thank
Stay
you.
healthy.
Thank
Thank
very
you.
much.
Can sit in one of the coffee chairs.
Well, that was great. Mr. Dunkel has spoken very highly about Tom and the mayor, we obviously is a great supporter, so let's move on. If I could find my place, we now,
We got that for a minute.
oh, how come you didn't tell me that?
Well, you had so many visitors. I figured we were gonna get to
I
that.
seem to forget this every time. I assume everybody's read the minutes. Does everybody have any questions, criticisms?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Ms.
Second.
George. Second, Mr. Walker. Everybody approve, say aye. please.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. I don't know why I have a block against that. I really don't. We have a dock waiver and I appreciate Mr. Kearns and our friend Frank for waiting for us. I guess second to the mayor is not a bad thing, so.
How do you follow that?
Well, you know what, Frank, you've been here before, you know how to follow that, so we appreciate it. So Frank, give you the floor. What we have is if I could find my notes. We have a request for a waiver for the installation of a boat lift.
Bring up so we can show everybody.
That's another one.
Picture's worth 1,000 words, if you don't know. Good evening, folks. Like I said, how do you follow this whole thing here? But anyway, thank you for giving us. You folks all have your package in front of you. I could just do a brief synopsis to read it, I guess, for the record. And this property, the project is located at 3019 Northeast 20th Court, which is located in the Bonita Bay section 30, Township 49, Sub Range 43, East in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. Property in Bonita Bay is in the Bonita Bay area, which is a tidal water. The nearest direct connection to the Atlantic Ocean is approximately 14 miles to the southeast. And Port Everglades Inlet. The project is located to the north of the inlet. Tide moves from south to north without going EBB. Project consists of an existing 80-foot seawall cap, 80 by 16.3. Concrete dock, with a concrete dock with a 27-foot 9-inch. Proposed project consists of installing a 12-post 30,000 pound boat lift. More specifically, the proposed project consists of installing the full of the 4-post boat lift at 28 feet 9 inches from the property line and 29.09 from the wet face of the seawall. The lift would be placed 42 feet to the east. What are we doing there? Really like into plans. The photos. Can you bring me into the application package, please? No. Sorry.
Thank you.
Had me. Ask you that. Oh, it's in your package. It's in the dimensions of the lift. Proposed structures. All have been approved by the Broward County Environmental Protection, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Army Corps of Engineers. The following five matters provide justification for this waiver request. All structures and piles will not exceed 30% of the waterway. That waterway is leave that for a second, please. That waterway is 191 feet long. It's not, okay. You can see in your package, there's Broward County's property appraisers. We have it measured off. Due to the extraordinary width of the waterway at this location from the wet face, proposed project will not impede any navigation in any way within the Bonita Bay. The proposed structures are necessary for the safety mooring of the residents' vessels, especially during high winds and severe weather. Might also point out that that section of the intercoastal is a go-fast zone, so no weight restrictions there. So the amount of traffic and weight waves that come in there during heavy periods would causes quite a bit of turbulence, which would impede safety of somebody trying to get on and off a boat without having a proper lift apparatus. The proposed structure would also necessary to protect the residents' vessel from high wave energy, excessive boat wakes entering from the intercoastal. Here's a simple one. The waiver is approved. The applicant will comply with all necessary construction conditions stated in the agency guidelines and codes. Our proposed structure is a four-post boat lift. The structure will be 28 feet 9 inches from the property line. The current code allows for 25 feet from the property line. We're asking for a waiver amount of 3 feet 9 inches. We're going to say 4 feet, to just an inch here and there, but we'll keep it at what we say. As you folks are probably aware of now, the zoning department has now come up with an ordinance to finalize these permits that a independent engineer will have to come out and shoot these placement of these piles, make sure that it conforms with the codes that have been enforced. That's basically it. Now, these photos of the area show that there's quite a bit of room there. This is an existing dock that Mr. Kearns has purchased, I think, what, about 2 years now, you there, sir?
1 year, 3 days from now.
Okay. Also, one of the champions for the South Florida Fort Lauderdale swim team. And really would impede no hardship at all to the neighbor. He's had some requests from one of the neighbors to perhaps move the boat a little bit further to the west as to not obstruct their view, which he is in favor of doing. And we could make that adjustment at final as-built condition that we would submit to the city and the Army Corps. That's basically it. You had any questions?
Frank, the pictures, they're great pictures. I drove up to the property the other day. Unfortunately, you simply can't see anything from the street. What's existing there? There is a dock there right now?
Yes, there is.
What type of dock is there?
It's a concrete dock with a marble, that's it there,
Like,
with a marble
my eyes are horrible.
finish on top.
So is that a 4-post or it's an elevator lift?
It's a 4-post.
And you simply want to, basically, he wants it's not a bigger boat. You simply want to.
Well, there was a boat moored there. Now that Mr. Kearns has come in, he's, purchased a very expensive vessel that, you can't keep boats in the water. We all know that. It's not a healthy thing for them, especially with the tidal currents and everything that happens in this go fast stuff here. So, the 4-post lift would, accommodate his new vessel and, to just keep it, safe for boarding passengers and himself.
Questions from the board, please?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Redpath.
Question, did you say the side back is less than 5 feet
No.
from the property line? What is you mentioned 4 feet, a couple inches. Side back, what is that?
Present right now would be 10 feet, sir, set at 10. We're actually gonna move it a little further west.
Setback only needs. to be
Setback, yeah. Setbacks are 5.
Norbert.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at this and your plan is basically it's parallel to the dock, correct?
Yeah.
In other words, it's parallel.
Yes.
And I got the attorney, actually, if that lift was not there, that guy could put a catamaran in there that's, then because the structure, we're dealing with the structure, not the size of the boat. And that's one of the things that we have a debate on. In other words, if that boat did not have a lift in there and the boat was 5 feet wider, it would be legal. And so what everybody has an objection about navigational things in South Owen Airport, what they're basically doing is taking a boat that's alongside of the dock and elevating it. And by doing that, that structure becomes the problem is the structure is going to be 3 feet out further than what we allow with the 25 feet, not the boat, the structure. And I think that's one of the things that we're talking about is trying to make whatever the furthest out. In this case, it would be the structure. Not the boat.
Perpendicular.
So I mean, he could put a 50-foot catamaran wide there and he still has plenty of room on the boat.
Yeah.
So basically what they're doing environmentally wise and everything else is bringing the boat safety wise and also environmentally wise from the water and lifting it. And what they're asking for, the way I look at it, is 3 feet because the boat, by lifting it up, we made it illegal on the 25-foot mark. That's all what I wanted to say.
Well, structure, no, so how I interpret it. Way that we've years past and before you commissioned many times. Can't go more than 25 feet, no matter what. Or 30%, whichever is less than. So the 25 feet is it, unless we come before you folks.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple things. There were a couple of letters of objection. One thing it mentioned was navigation. I never saw anything specific what the navigation issue was. As a boat captain, I don't see it unless somebody can explain it to me.
I've been captain my whole life. I've been on the water, you know, sir.
Right.
I can't turn around 190 feet. He shouldn't be on a vessel like that.
So the second thing, there was something about not being able to see the ICW. All those properties in end of it can see the ICW. There's one right next to the property, what as it is right now.
Well, Mr. Kern has spoken to that lady.
Yeah, okay,
And
but
he's
anyway,
gonna move it even
Right.
further so that it'll be
Good.
more centered in his property
Good.
and not to.
perfect. I'm glad you talked to the neighbor
Yeah.
there.
He wanted to make that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
What's happening, they can come out and see exactly. So we're not gonna be all object. Perfect.
Okay.
Are there, sorry, Mr. Tom.
Well, there's been a discussion about moving this thing farther to the west to remove that objection. Right now, what will be going to the city commission is this document right here. Number one, I would make a recommendation that if there is a motion to approve, it's subject to moving the location. Number two, I would ask you to get that resolved and get a proper drawing in front of the commission when it goes to a vote. That way you eliminate choppy waters and you get to go right through smooth waters.
That's the time factor.
How
that
well
we're
put.
trying to-
And Bob, I didn't know about that proposal to move until.
I understand.
And, you know, we would still be within our rights to ask for this the way it is.
Yeah.
We're making an accommodation.
You're only asking for objections which muddy the water in front of the commission. I'm asking you, make it smooth waters, not muddy waters.
So
Leave it the way it is.
this is the presentation is how it is. We have a few letters of objection. Let me ask if is anybody here that is opposed that would like to speak? There is not. So we have letters of objection. I think it's important to address them. And my 2 cents, we keep hearing about wave action. I understand that. But as Norbert said, taking the boat out of the water, protects the boat, is also environmentally is better for the area as well. So my read, my rather subjective read of the various arguments is I keep seeing the word that property values will be greatly affected because they're losing their obstructed view. They have an obstructed view. I see another one that talks about harm to property values. The application, if approved, would reduce the property values for the impacted neighbors. I really want to be sensitive to the applicant and I mean great respect to the neighbors involved. Tyler, you're a real estate expert. Just out of curiosity, will neighbors' properties values be negatively impacted by this?
I don't see how this would, in my opinion, I mean, you add value to that property, it adds value trickle down wise to all the other properties. All the boats here now, if I'm looking at it, you're like 57 feet, 50, 40, 40, 57. I think the guy across from him has like 72 feet. So really all their boats that they can put on the water are 47 to 30 feet to even the guy across is only a 65-foot boat. I don't see how that's unnavigable for them to get into their dock or put their boat in. I mean, they're putting a bigger boat than they should, then maybe that's the issue, but I don't see how the property value goes down. I mean, your property value is tied to, what's selling around you.
Does that concern us as a board?
Gentlemen,
So, excuse me, Frank, I don't.
I'm
mean to
sorry.
interrupt. So, no, please. So the line of sight is not our issue. Line of sight is not our purview. We use that over again. But I'm just concerned again that, and it's probably not our area, but it's not an issue of wakes. It's not an issue of wave action, et cetera, bothering neighbors. And the fact that somebody's view is impacted, I'm sensitive to it, but I keep coming back to this NIMBYism that drives me nuts, and we'll leave it at that. So I don't believe property values are impacted. I've been in real estate for
Yeah,
50 years.
You're not guaranteed a view
So I'm troubled by
I get-
that.
unless you buy that property.
calls a month.
Right, I mean, that's,
Frank, how big a boat can we put back there?
you can go 28 more
what's the
feet.
boats? What's the,
It's
what can we do?
149.
And very, very crucial on,
So I respect the letters of objection.
Essentially, you got a 16 something dock and then you got 149 across. So you can put another 28 feet over there. So something 28, 29 foot wide can sit there. I mean,
So, Frank, you mentioned moving the dock, as did the applicant. That's at your discretion. If you choose to do that, then as council said, we can approve this subject to that. Or we'll simply vote on it as presented. So It can go either way. How do we deal with that, Bob? Is that all
Your
right?
discretion. You can either approve it with the
So,
suggestion
if
that's
it's
subject to
up
being
for-
moved, or just approve it as it's presented.
So if it's up for approval as presented and we turn it down, then it's turned down. It is not resubmitted where Frank can say, well, we'll do it subject to.
Well, it would travel from this board with a negative recommendation, a recommendation for denial. It still goes to the commission, notwithstanding your recommendation of denial.
Yeah, I mean, I would make a motion when it comes time, to approve it as it is. I don't think that we should
Yeah.
waste the time of the applicant or his money, on doing it to have the stipulation. He's agreed to do that on a handshake, with his neighbor. That's what we should allow. The boat, as everybody said, I mean, this is pretty obvious as far as it's just a view corridor issue that they're trying to use with navigation. It has nothing to do with navigation. And you're allowed to put a bigger boat there. If you're allowed to put a boat there, you should be allowed, I've said this forever, allowed to pick it up, put it on a boat. It's much safer, especially in this situation. So it fits all the parameters of, why this.
And it's not
Could
going
be.
any wider
Yeah,
than what's there.
yeah, it's not going to be any bigger or wider than what's there.
Yes.
I mean, by far, this is
We
clear.
don't need to go through this again. It sounds like we have some direction. Does anybody have any further questions, statements, or ever before we bring it around to a vote? Anything from the public? Travis, you look like you have some concern, no? No. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve
I'll
this
second.
as presented.
Jimmy approves
I'll
as
second.
presented, Tyler seconds. Can we bring it around to
Yes.
a roll call vote, please?
May I have the motion to approve?
Jimmy Harrison and Ms. George.
No, Tyler.
Tyler,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Not nearly as good looking. So.
I get it.
Thank you.
I didn't know
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
We're getting.
Mr. Flanagan,
Yes.
McLaughlin.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Pirelli. Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Ms. Norvell,
Yes.
Mr. Franks,
Yes.
Mr. Boyer. Oh, excuse me, Ms. George,
Yes.
Mr. Reepholz,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
and Chair Whitten.
Yes,
You get,
passed.
Barry?
Thank you very much. Mr. Flanagan.
he showed up.
Yeah.
Flanagan.
I have him down as yes.
Frank, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Certainly good luck and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks, for your time. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
Frank.
Happy holidays. Take care, folks. Have a good evening.
Okay, on to the fun stuff. Eric Metz is here from the Las Olas Marina. There was an old article, maybe it wasn't so old, that I drug up that said there is an economic engine revving up in Fort Lauderdale. The Las Olas Marina is being redeveloped and transformed into a public space with restaurants, a promenade, of 66 floating boats for mega yachts. The multi-million-dollar facility will create jobs, a new pump out station as an infrastructure improvement. Watch what else to see is afloat, and we're going to hear from Mr. Metz.
Hey, everybody. First, would it make sense for me to be over there or over there?
Wherever you like to be.
Wherever you
You're
are,
very
you could be anywhere.
Somebody could be your guys' way. I apologize. So first, Eric Metz, Senior Director of Development for Suntech Marinas. I apologize, my voice is a little bit hoarse. So, Jim and I are going to go where we were last year. We last, I think in January, if I recall correctly, kind of where we've been in the last 12 months, share some of our trials, tribulations, and kind of where we're going now, the trajectory. You know, to close out the project. So I'm very happy to see close out in the distance, but still. So, we have to blow up to a bit with this, but starting in January this year, we still had the big dredge basin and everything. I'll get back and carry over logistics to it. Looks like to moving February, more dredging, March, April, May, and June. Really moving through all the seams for the dredge and the hydraulic side of it. We had a big pause in May and June and July, August. The dredge part that was out there, they got destroyed basically by the rock. The front fell off it completely and it's still in dry dock in June. So that dredge is not so good anymore. That was a brand new barge for it. Designed to hit hard rock. So July, new barge is back. Second barge. August and September. It broke in October.
And November, it died completely. Boat show. That barge got demobilized, I think November, like 10th, around there, and is no longer on site. December, where we are today, is basically collapsed all the basin in. I'll show up some more detail. Are now moving kind of the finished dredge part. And you know where we were in July of 2020 started. So the site here, all the old big stingers are still out there, all the docks, all the upland here. To kind of remind folks about kind of one of the big challenges you have with the project is took the city's old pump station D31 and moved that in here. Oops, that is and soon an accident. Pump stations here, we moved it over here. Basically, that was one of the biggest challenges in the whole job. Is as you do when you dig, we found everything we don't want to find, utilities, unknown things, unmarked stuff. That sob story everybody hears, you know, developers say, we lived it, and it was not particularly fun to hear that. Sure, this is so January, this was right when we last met. We had that big dredge basin out there. We were finishing our seawall on this side. What stopped us on that seawall was that old pump station. It used to run right here, the force main that went back to that pump station, pumped out. The biggest logistical challenge we had for this is getting rid of this, and also in between here, when the city developed it, they ran all their sewer mains through the site, not in the periphery. So the whole thing was basically locked with that sewer system in place. So that was the big, you know, critical path for the entire job was that pump station. You can see here, the dredge basically respected that area. That's actually good. June 1st, 2023, middle of the year, this was like my proudest day in the entire project because we have FPL finally here, and we finished the wall on this side, and the pump station, the old one, that started the demo process. The old pump station actually died during the April rain event. It got flooded, not just with water, but just the material actually clogged the force main. And thankfully, the new one was ready to go online, but we hadn't really tested it yet. Well, we put it online because it had to work. And, you know, thankfully it worked and everything went swimming after that. But that was critical pass. And this day in June was really truly a kind of symbol day for us to transition project. Also here you can see here not really clearly, well, the next picture, the buildings. We started those in earnest February, March. And we have now topped out just before boat show. The April boat show, we topped out all the buildings. Forward. And so today, this is actually this morning. You know, and I know the folks who live here have seen us make holes, fill holes, make holes, fill holes.
Constantly.
Constantly. We are really good at doing that. Thankfully, this is the last hole that we'll start digging in this area. We're now going to be clawing our way out of here and bring the basin all the way back. In the little peninsula over here, I'll explain why in a second, but this is our final dig we're doing, our final excavation. In the water, we started this project with 162,000 yards of material we had to move out of here. It's about 10,000 truckloads of material. We've moved about 8,000 truckloads so far, without really too much issues. I mean, bad problems, but pretty good so far. About 2,000 left, plus or minus. We'll be doing between, today we did, I think, 45 loads, our first real day. We bring up to about 150, 180 per day. Hopefully by Christmas, this will mostly be gone, or a large portion of it will be. In the intercoastal, unfortunately, we do have about 12,000 yards of material that is right in front of this building that has not been dredged out. That area, as we went through it, is by far the hardest part of the intercoastal that we're able to hit out there. And no matter what elevation, what depth you're at, just didn't matter. It is extremely hard. We saw that material crop up within our batter pile. We shared that last time we were here. The material ranges from literally nothing in terms of resistance to 20 feet down. It is extremely difficult to break through. So back 12,000 yards, we have a permit modification in with FEP right now. Broward's already improvement, and so is Army Corps, which is something of a miracle to get that out there, finished out mechanically. We're ready to mobilize that hopefully. I was hoping this month in December, but FD piece being FDP. So we'll see what they get back on that. Once that is done, then we're basically done with everything in the water, and the wall itself is completely in with the exception of the chunk out here in the corner. Again, the tie in the Portofino we have here was also not in now. But the wall is substantially complete other than that. You all see more clearly in this picture our buildings, like in zoom in, which is cool, is basically building 3 right here. That's what we call building 3. That's our marina service, boat brokers, office, retail, that sort of use is situated in here. Two ground floor restaurants, one here and one here. You know, what we call building 4, the signature restaurant. That we are very, 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 very close to having this lease finalized. So I don't want to share names right now, but it's imminent. For having that being signed and leased and starting the process for their permits and TIs. On the first point here, local, very, very, very local operator, everybody here knows, is probably taking at least one of the spaces, if not both. Yeah, it's very close to here. I can't say who, but most likely that's going to be spaces for him. He also happens to have a very signature restaurant on the beach that's just down the way. But in any event, so those 2 restaurants, the good thing is those are more or less topped out. We're now at the point though with all of our buildings is FPL. So we ended up putting about, I want to say about 20,000 linear feet of new FPL conduit in the ground just for this property. I don't think I've ever seen transformers as big as what we have here for the amount of consumption that we have planned for boats and also for buildings. Everything is redundant with FPL, everything's separated. It's a very, very expensive system, but also it's a very, very, very robust for what we do. Hopefully FPL will solve this month. That's the goal, if not really next, but hopefully this month. When we move into our finishes and basically finalizing the exterior of the buildings, they'll be more or less complete. Again, we think probably second quarter next year, that's the current trajectory for the buildings. And then promenade and all kind of flat concrete, we think is, again, probably first quarter start, second quarter finish, for all that sort of other infrastructure on the property. For the bulk of the actual structure, that is. Do now. Wow. Other thing of note too is for boat show, docks C, D, and E are in, they're installed. They're the small box, so the fingers just north of the bridge, and then the 2 fingers south of the bridge. Those are done, those are installed. It's not there right now is all the dock EVPs, the water sewer power. That's forthcoming. Bellingham, which guys are all familiar with capacity. Bellingham is self-performing the MEP work on the docks. So that's on their schedule right now. The big thing you don't see is B and then A. It goes out that way. That probably starts right now, 2nd week of January, more or less, to get that out there. Bellingham's passed almost all the floats except for P1B and portions of A. So the docks are ready, they just haven't been actually pulled together in a single that Bellingham and shipped out. Then also, we talked about this last time. I wanted to include it is we replaced about 950 linear feet of seawall, more or less, on the north side. As we went through and ripped it out, we realized that this chunk and then this chunk is in fairly horrible condition. If you look at the boat, it looks pretty good, but once you really get there, you look past kind of its goodness, it's not going to survive that. It stays a toast. We're working with the city right now on a partial cost sharing. A portion of this wall is not part of the demise premise for Los Olas. Unfortunately, the Los Olas portal project basically built everything nice around it, but the wall is not nice. So it's going to be fairly surgical to get in here, put this wall in right there, and bridge utilities and make all that work. We're not making the battle piles for that section. It's just not worth it. It's what we know doing this. We do not want to repeat that down there. So I'll be basically very deep sheet piles and then a very robust count. I'm going to schedule real quick. Schedule is not right. Just to say that right now. It's not correct. This is my inside joke. But you know, we did make many of our milestones right about here right now. We're really focusing on completing buildings complete marine seawall and also dredge and excavation. I'm very, very hopeful that the dredge is gonna be done this month, other than the FDP portion, that's a small component of what we're doing to stop in the water. And then heading towards, March, April, May, for probably turnover and completion. We're not, it's kind of where we are.
Thank you. This is, thanks for teasing us with your new tenants, by the way.
Ah,
We'd all love to know who to look forward to, but
yeah.
we certainly appreciate the sensitivity. Anybody have questions? This is, I appreciate you making the time. This is obviously has significant impact on the town. And means a great deal to have you join us. If you don't mind, we'll reach out again as you move forward. And again, if you can use our support or anything, please reach out to us as well. Anything else for anyone? Thank you.
I'll just share that Eric and his team have had monthly meetings with all of the neighbors, and actually the mayor and our commissioner have been toting that as a best practice, because it is for this size of a project to keep the neighbors well informed. And he has, we're on speed dial, we text each other when we have questions and all of that. So I'm there representing Central Beach. My husband happens to represent our building. But every one of the buildings, we have somebody that has a direct connect with him, and he'll walk the site with us too. I mean, he actually brought my husband out on the site to walk it so that they could see what was going on. And that really helped the value
You're
of keeping.
communicating, You're working with the neighbors, et cetera. I mean, Elizabeth is, she's not an overly patient person. She's continually reports.
I am.
In a positive way, just the whole experience there. So rest assured, when it's not going well, she'll tell us as well. So thank you very much.
Any more questions at all?
Anybody else?
Happy to answer anything.
We know how to reach Eric.
That has
Maybe
nothing to do
email
with that.
address.
No.
We can reach him.
No.
Eric, have a nice
Send it on
holiday.
that at
Thank
the
you very
level.
much.
Thanks, Eric.
Next, we'll.
Now, if you pay me, I know the name.
Yeah.
No, we've been told to keep it hush.
So Winterfest Boat Parade, thank you very much. We want to take a few minutes to kind of focus on something that's extremely important to the town in so many different ways, by the way. And this year, the Winterfest Boat Parade is referred to as Reflections Afloat. The tagline is the best show on H2O, and I would certainly argue that. There's nothing I enjoy as much as with my family. Bill Walker, anybody want to speak about it? Give us.
Yeah, so Chairman asked me, probably 6 weeks ago about making a presentation tonight. I actually have an awesome video and a presentation sitting on my desk. That I could get it emailed here. But what I'll do is I'll actually take this and I'll send it to Andrew tomorrow, and he can send it around to you guys, to the board, and to share. But this year and next year, I'm the chairman of the board for Winterfest. And it's quite an organization. I've been involved with it for probably 8 years now. We're gonna have 100 boats in the parade, which is what we shoot for every year. It's also a big sponsorship. We just renewed our sponsorship with the Hard Rock Casino. So it's gonna remain the Hard Rock, Winterfest Hard Rock Boat Parade, which is really, really good in terms of the longevity of the parade. Couple things history-wise, which is pretty cool, was the parade was moved up the New River in 2007, which was a fairly substantial change. There was a lot of angst. I actually had just rolled into town buying the water taxi then, and that was the first parade I went in, but with the boats. But it really has added quite a bit of a much better viewing area for people to see it coming out of the New River. And there's a lot of effort that goes into making the parade. Jimmy heads up the Parade Enhancement Committee, which basically we have budgets to help run floats, AKA boats in the parade. His committee come up with some really cool ideas. We got a couple good ones this year that, Might want to,
Yeah,
Spill the beans on?
you know, one of the recent things we did was bring back the toy soldiers boat, you know, which is real cool.
Yeah.
And so I'll have that again on a sailboat this year, where it was just part of a bigger boat last year. The real cool one this year, and it's shaping up to be pretty good, is the karaoke boat, or actually the karaoke Christmas or Winterfest boat. So it's going to be you've seen at the Ballyhoo, the big floating billboard that's a video screen. So it'll be the video screen with a camera facing the crowds. So it'll be primarily going to where the crowds are, where parties are, where restaurants, you know, are along the water, and having Christmas music played, you know, across it with the karaoke words, you know,
That's
going
great.
across, having the people singing, you know, on the shoreline, on the video screen, on the boat. There'll also be the mistletoe kiss cam, you know, going on, where we'll be giving out at Las Olas and at the downtown plastic mistletoe for people, so we can, just like in the stadium, you know, where they zoom in on the people and, you know, get kissed, hold the mistletoe over and have some kiss cam, you know, going on as well. There'll be an encourager on the boat, you know, like a DJ guy, you know, or girl, basically encouraging people to be singing, you know, and pointing out to and everything. So we did have it last year. It was a complete failure. No one remembers that it wasn't that good. And this year we put a lot of effort.
didn't know what was gonna happen.
And the Ballyhoo team has done a really good job as far as putting together some B-roll video. I mean, like graphics or cartoons, things going on, the look of the whole thing, look and feel, the songs that'll be going on and stuff. So we've been improving stuff this week on that. So it should be really good. We'll run a practice one the night before as well. But that'll be the new cool boat for this year. There's some other good things. I'll leave those as surprises, improvements, you know, to the parade. So it just keeps getting better every year. So
And you have Boys to Men this
Yeah,
we have ways to mention.
yeah, that's our grand marshal. So another one of our board members, Barry Flanagan, is on the basically the boat parade committee, which Barry and the committee, you know, work with the logistics of the parade and coordination within internally, like dock walkers, releasing boats on time, getting things like that coordinated. I don't know, Barry, you have anything you'd like to add to the buoys and stuff we put out and things like that?
We have buoys that will be placed the morning of the parade in front of the bridges at a distance of 150 feet. And that's the number that we like to see, the space between the different yachts or boats that are in the parade. TV does not like long pauses or, you know, big fun. So we hope going through the bridges, these markers or buoys will actually be placed at 150 foot, so the captains can know exactly where their boat is in relationship to the one going through the parade, going through the bridge. Getting off the boats on time off the dock, that we've only, I guess this year we're missing a couple of tugs, so we have 6 tugboats that are committed to bring the yachts off the dock where they are and get into the parade. And they don't always just follow their boats are placed where they are for a purpose and a reason. Depth of water, their ability to power themselves, or whether they need a tug or whatever. But unfortunately, the Hudson apparently is going to have to go, which is our lead boat, Coast Guard.
Coast Guard buoy tender.
Yeah. And it requires assistance to not only go up the river, but to come down the river. We don't have enough tugboats with the capability to tow Hudson. So she's going to have to go start the parade a little bit earlier, go down and join the parade rather at what I guess they call the triangle. When you see the excitement of the parade starting with the helicopter, the Coast Guard, you can just see the people's excitement this year with what Jimmy and his committee have. The people on the dock will see their own excitement by something that you know, when you you have to see it. I mean, it's just seeing these yachts get towed up in the afternoon, late afternoon and backwards. It's one of the most exciting aspects, I think, of the parade that the people along the river are so up close and they see it. And for the first time, you know, it's like, wow, little kids whose eyeballs are wide open. You know, we're looking forward to good weather and everything this year. So, and the tide's favorable also.
Yeah. So Barry and I get the best job in the parade. We actually go out at 4 o'clock with Channel 7 and a film crew, and we roll around and we take B-roll film of all the floats, get really into the people who have made these things. Some of them are just like they break your heart, you know, in terms of what people are into. 2 years ago, we had the USS Lauderdale being built. It's actually just about getting ready to turn over to the Navy, and a lot of hoopla. Barry and I over by the downtown, we weren't drinking, we were filming, but the, and all of a sudden, like these 10 sailors come walking down the dock, and I just walked over to them and I go, hey, you guys off the USS Lauderdale? And they were like, how the hell do you know that? So it was like a little advanced team, did a great interview with these guys, rolled around in the boat for another 30, 40 minutes, and then stopped by one of the water taxi boat, had a Southern rock band on it. We go up there and interview the band, and there's all the Navy guys in the back, hats are off, playing, you know, having a great time, you know. But the other thing that's really, really a lot of work goes into this in terms of the permitting, coordination, of law enforcement. The sergeant here has a monumental task. He attends all our boat committee meetings. A lot of times the Coast Guard is there with all this and the coordination. I'm not sure what you have to say outside of, I know you got it completely under control and but so you know, that's a and permits, you know, it's not one of these things that we go, oh, the Winterfest boat parade's been happening for over 50 years now. It gets into, you know, permitting the bridges being open, permits for dealing with the Brightline / FEC railway. The coordination of all that, of like, okay, when the boats are finishing up the parade, how do we make it so on the way back? Because people now, the parade's over, they want to go out to Barrier Island. The boats all want to get back to with the guests. You know, there's several thousands of people on these boats, you know, in the parade. And, you know, I guess a couple things that last thing I'd say is, you know, there's over 1 million people. It's pretty cool when you go on the parade along the shorelines. And if you ride around your car, your boat, and you look around and you go, well, where could someone sit in the parade? Well, they find everywhere. All the bridge abutments have people on them. They kick everybody off the bridges because they're all kind of hanging out there. But, you know, all the time you go by in the condos, the apartments at nighttime, they're all just black, party on, you know. And then from there, it's filmed. It's the 7th largest parade in the world. It's the largest parade on the water. And it's here in Fort Lauderdale. And it's pretty cool. I'd say that 60% of our entrants are people. It's not, you know, it's not the Macy's Day Parade. You know, we get good sponsorship for things, but it's pretty cool to see everyone, you know. It's a very, very awesome community event. This weekend on Saturday night, this black tie event, which is it's roughly about 500-600 people or 800 people going. I know there's tickets still for sale for that, or that's over at the Hard Rock. Winterfest itself throughout the year does a lot of fundraising for their foundation, for donations into the city and around the county, and also to sustain itself. And the corporation, Winterfest Corporation, is in a very healthy state right now, and it has been for several years. And we see the parade expanding in terms of wow factor. I don't think you're going to go above 100 boats, but the wow factor every year is probably one of our biggest things we look at. We're always pushing the envelope to how do you get the people on shore. Like the last thing I'll say is this year they decided committees that they want on our water taxi system, we have electronic signs, so they want to vote out in front of the whole parade that's going to say, similar to the Paul Revere time of the British are coming, so the whole idea is to get people that the parade's coming, so we have all these, you know, sayings going on that. And then there's a fireworks barge right
Right.
behind that with the US Coast Guard. So it's December 16th. December 16th. If you, and the parade starts on the New River at 6:30. So wherever you are along the way.
Is the simulcast on the radio this year?
It probably will be on radio. I mean, one of the things pretty interesting technology wise, how a lot of this stuff is all changing into. I see some YouTube stuff and stuff like that in the future and podcasting. Certainly a lot of things that Jimmy and Barry and others have worked on is like, hey, how do we get stuff on and off the boats? Make it more interactive. This
People on
ballyhoo
the boats
boat
will-
to get
on the
people.
Boats will be doing all their own.
Right. So the Boys to Men are on, they're in the Grand Marshal boat, but they're up there. One of the things pretty cool we found out was that having people like Shaq is nice. But Shaq stands up there and does this. Okay. The Boys to Men want to play, and so we've been really kind of dealing with a lot of the musician side of life because they want to keep performing, and I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna do on this Grand Marshal boat this year, but Brett Michaels, he was just, can I play my guitar? So
Well, you just made a statement, you said, some of your focus is how do you get people on the shore? That's why we're doing it.
Correct.
We're all, huge proponents of this. There's nothing more enjoyable with my family.
Right.
So we're hoping that anybody watching it or whatever, this message gets out. So we thank you for doing this. Look, it's the same core guys that are always contributing. Barry's there, Bill's there, Jimmy. It's the same guys, the same team.
everybody
And
here.
as enjoyable as, but as enjoyable as the event is, it's a huge fundraiser. So we talk about fun, et cetera. I happen to hear that Mr. Walker raised the most money this year of anybody at Men of Style. And, so first of all, you have to see him.
It's a navigation issue.
The bottom line is, we're doing this, you're raising money. So it's great, we're out there laughing and all that, but these three guys and others at this table are raising a ton of money for the town to events like this. So kudos to everybody that's involved in this. Thank you,
Mr.
Barry.
Chairman, I want to acknowledge something that Mr. Walker did. It was 1,300 entries, I think, and he, one of all of them raised more money than all the others combined. And then when he jumped off the 92-foot plank over at the whole thing, that was exciting to see him do that. We were all impressed. duly
I'll send that
impressed.
video around tomorrow too, but. He fell.
Oh, maybe.
I was the first civilian to jump off the tower.
Shooting out 13.
3 meters.
It's called Men of Steel.
Right.
That's what he tells me, he said.
Patience.
Well, first of all, I congratulate Bill because he did a yeoman's job raising money for CDTC Children's Diagnostic Center. But we collect toys for the
Yeah.
Diagnostic Center on the 13th, which is next Wednesday. And you're all welcome to join us. It's the Marine Industry Joint Party. It starts at 5:30 at our office, and we do it in conjunction with EVA, ISS, help me,
Subi Association,
Subriat, and
CDTC. Right?
EVA. So
USA.
anyway, there's 5 trade organizations that coordinate on this. It's a good time. It's come and go. This year, we're doing a Jimmy Buffett the Queen. And you're all welcome to come, bring a toy.
There's a handful of us that actually would love to go to the Black Tie event, but you don't want to come in us.
Talk to Barry, he's got tickets.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on.
I actually have one quick question.
Please.
With the stuff that's going on at the marina right now, yeah,
Yes.
right now, we've got barges that are out in the middle of the water and tubing out there.
Sure.
Have you guys been, I'm assuming, obviously, you're working closely with them to make sure that Cause I chuckle every once in a while when I watch some of the idiots going by.
Right.
He doesn't get to see them because it's usually later in the evening where they almost plow into the barges and stuff like that are out there.
I gotta tell you, I think that, you made a very good comment earlier, that Eric Metz is one of the best guys I've seen and worked with around here. He's pretty funny. He starts off on the south side of the marina, okay? I got the thing fenced off and all of a sudden he's calling me up and he's like, I need to meet you. So I go down there and he goes, do you know how many people are walking through this place looking for you guys? He goes, and then he was so accommodating with putting the water taxi, you know, up and down the sea walls, I'll put you here, I'll put you there. And then finally he was
People
like,
ask
look,
about
I'm
that all the
done.
time,
you know?
yeah. They're always asking where it's gonna be.
Sure.
People want it back where it was and we're like, there's not gonna be a dock there.
No,
You
so
can't
we're
have it
gonna,
there.
we're talking with those guys because obviously it is gonna be a great facility and
Yeah.
and get going there.
And I like your other, that's coming too.
Thank you.
I like. That's good.
Thank you. That's great, really appreciate it. We're on to old and new business. I'm gonna be all over the place real quickly here. There's a few things I want to draw your attention to. One has nothing whatsoever to do with the waterfront, but it's because our dear friend Andrew's involved. I can't read backwards. The tunnel top plaza ribbon cutting. This is, you guys are all familiar with the tunnel top that was done over the highway there. This is Andrew's baby, and despite the fact he won't be there, there's one PM ribbon cutting. There's a community festival for kids, etc. And what I think is really wonderful is a Home Alone movie at 5:30. So credit to Andrew, and let's all get there and support it.
All right.
Okay, I'll take credit, but it's not my baby.
He told me it was.
You told me you're gonna be in the, some, doing the tail of water. You're doing that, right? We'll go next, I just have to leave.
Go.
If I'll just talk, just for a
Go
little bit.
wherever you want.
Yeah, on the bathymetric survey, also on the New River, a little bit on New River.
Right.
You know, we have the group at Marine Industries where we've been meeting once a month, you know, right now. We're actually trying to make sure that we have right mix of people on board. We have our local fine commissioner, Frank Garrett, and the ask is out for Spencer Crowley from Miami as well. So I'll have two fine commissioners on board, as well as homeowners that live on the water along the river, you know, in that area. In addition to all of the marinas, the towboat operators, and some business, you know, local businesses as well. That's where we're at as far as with the group, you know, study group. Also, the fine grant will be finalized at the next commission meeting. So that the grant is, no,
No, they kicked it to January.
okay, kicks it down a month. But that is for the money to pay for the bathymetric survey. So, and we also have to get two more quotes as far as our proposals from other people who do bathymetric surveys before we go forward with that. One thing that we did have was discussion at the private board, discussion of the recommendation from this board to overlay the old and the new surveys. And that is something that we do want to do, you know, which is to see if the channel has changed, you know, in the past. How many years has it been? Gary?
2011.
2011, you know, in 13 years, whatever, is there a change, you know, to where the center of the channel actually is in the river? So that's another thing that we've done. So we were configuring the completion of the survey to be by the end of January. So I suppose now will be the end of February or
Well, once
hopefully
it's
something like that.
approved in the first meeting in January, then we can.
Yeah, that'd be a quick
Yeah.
one.
So. I mean,
Here's how it works, just so everybody knows that when they accept the agreement, that allocates the funding. Because it's a reimbursable grant, so the city has to front the money in order to do the work. So it was on this next meeting, it'll be on the January 9th is the next meeting. And then once they put the funding in place, it happened. Patient's night talk today, DOT. She's gonna put us together a couple of quotes. We have one quote now, we get two more quotes. It's I think it's gonna be a informal bid quote process with city. And once we have it, we can issue the PO, and by that time, the timing of all of this, it'll be ready to go. So I think, you know, January is reasonable.
Awesome.
You going out?
Yeah, I've got about.
You have a few?
Teaching, yeah. Couple of minutes.
So let's think, so I have some other business items, but before we do that, we want to just take a moment to celebrate our folks here. We have a couple Christian gifts just because it's that time of year. John Ross, you get to show what it is. No, hold out, yes, hold out. This is our Hey, Barry. Yeah. Can't wait, all right? Don't start.
Yeah, Bear.
So this is our chief dock master. And we will now refer to him as the dock.
Yeah, all right. There we go.
Counselor, we couldn't decide
I'm not
decide what to get Bob. So we ended up, Mark's cards in here as well from the board, but we ended up getting you two things. And I won't make you break them. So number one is, of course, I put the Q in prosecute. And also because glasses for this candle smells like my favorite water.
Oh, geez.
Smell the crisp and fresh aroma of keeping us out of trouble. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also have here, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't drink. For Carla. Does not have to. Yet.
For me?
Well, you know what? You're a part of the team and we thank you.
Thank you.
If you're from the press.
The only one. You got a ball?
And the fact is, of course. And Andrew. Now, if anybody's going into Andrew's office, what they've noticed is a space on his wall right behind his desk. And I found something to put.
Tribute.
Captain Andrew, my boat. We'll have some business to deal with, but we'll let Jimmy go first. A few other business issues that, I'm gonna, let's see if I can cover a few things here. We talked about Andrew. Bob Dunkel had mentioned to us, interestingly enough, while Bob had passed around the new moratorium language, Andrew truly had gone through this with a fine tooth comb. I'll let Bob catch us up with that, but the conversation came up about timeline. And one of the things we start to realize is that once this moratorium goes into play, we don't have a lot of time. So we need to start talking about next steps, how to craft this, et cetera, because in quick conversation, we only have a few months to kind of start putting things in play. And then they start going, we start working together on it, start going to the town. What we don't want to find ourselves is a situation a year from now or whenever this is finally approved and we haven't made progress. So with that said, you know, again, it's tough to work in a vacuum like this. So we're trying to figure out, again, how to work, how to communicate outside of this board and so on. We know we could do some of this through Andrew, but we'll toss it to Bob for a minute, just update with you and thoughts and timeline, et cetera, what we should be doing.
Well, first of all, I asked Andrew to nitpick, fine tooth comb the ordinance, and by golly, he found the highest power telescope that he could come up with. We found he brought to my attention some irregularities. We have different yardsticks that we're dealing with. We've got one yardstick, which is, 25% of the width of the waterway or 25 feet. And another yardstick that's 30% of the width of the waterway or 25 feet. And then we turn to the annexation area, which we hardly ever see anything. And we've got 33% or 25%. We've also got a provision in the annexation area, which would come under dock waivers. No dock shall project more than 5 feet into any waterway. I honestly, anyway, so we've gone ahead and instead of reciting all those different yardsticks, we refer back to the definitional section. So it's a much better ordinance. As far as timeframes are concerned, we're on the good side of the time frame because I got the deputy city attorney to agree to zoning in progress, which means that since we first started this, nobody else can go ahead and apply for a waiver on what we call Western New River. Eastern boundary being Sasparino, western boundary being the city limits. It'll go to the P and Z board on the, was that the 20th? What? 20th. From there, assuming that it has a positive, whether it has a positive or negative recommendation, it'll then go to the city commission. I would suggest that perhaps within the next 2 months, possibly 3, an ordinance will be adopted, and that starts the 1-year period running. We've already got a big head start, several months. So from that point, y'all need to start having some hearings as to what are we going to do with dock waivers on this western portion of New River. This may not be the nicest thing for y'all to hear, but I think that there needs to be a balance between the navigational aspect of it. On the other side of the ledger, there are private property rights. I don't know how that's all going to wash out. I would suggest that we perhaps invite homeowner associations whose boundaries include that portion of the Western New River. We want as thorough an analysis and input as possible. So y'all probably want to start putting that on successive agendas for discussion and coming up with ideas and brainstorming.
But technically, we have one meeting a month. It's tough to accomplish. So we understand, communicate through Andrew, but can we have, and I understand sunshine, substance. How do we have breakout meetings with the public or anybody else?
At this point, since there is no delegation to a subcommittee, and I'm not sure that we can do that, I'd have to check into it. Without the delegation to a subcommittee, you're going to have these people present at your monthly meetings.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if we chose to have, as an example, it's tough to accomplish a lot in a couple of hours here. If we chose to have a special meeting, and we have a special meeting,
Yes.
invite the public,
Yes,
Says no.
right.
so we could start doing that and actually have real working sessions.
Yes.
I'll follow. Questions of Bob? Anybody? Harry?
Riparian water rights, how far? You mentioned earlier, we have to be concerned about homeowners value.
I didn't use the word value.
Riparian rights, he wanted to know for the homeowners.
Rights that you see. They buy them, it's in by the state, isn't it?
Riparian rights is a judicial doctrine. It's not determined by the state. You have a dispute as between two property owners as to their respective riparian rights, or with the city, it's resolved by a circuit court judge. There's no administrative procedures that resolve it.
Where would we be encroaching upon their riparian, their rights?
It's going to be an interesting journey for me to do some research into what we call, what's that act? No. There's an act in the state of Florida regarding making changes in zoning where people already have certain vested rights. I think the argument to be made is if they haven't applied for a waiver, they don't necessarily have a vested right. But if I were on the other side of the coin, I would be looking at the array of waivers that had already been granted, and I would probably be arguing, I have a high expectation of being able to get that waiver. Don't know how that's going to all wash out.
The municipalities have the right to change the zoning laws without worrying about regulation.
No, they do not have full authority to do that. If you change zoning laws that impact someone's vested rights, you've crossed the line.
Yeah, don't they have to go through their own
Yeah,
multi-stage process? Because I know
Yes.
down on the beach, we had that with some of the buildings.
yeah, and I'm sorry for
And it was like a year for that process to
you
go through.
end up going through an administrative process. You get a magistrate. I've handled several of those over the years. And then from there, then you can go to circuit court. So it can take a long time.
Yeah.
I see a difference. And order.
The act talks in terms of vested rights. If one has riparian rights, which includes the right to berth the vessel. And to wharf out. I will share with you some of the recent case law in that area, dealing with sovereignty submerged lands,
Well, the berthing out has that been looked at?
which by the way, we're talking sovereignty submerged lands with New River.
Isn't the berthing where vessels are parallel with the dock? This method of putting boat lifts in perpendicular to the dock is relatively new. And of course, we didn't have this issue years ago when I first got on.
You're right.
So,
I agree.
So there's some interpretation there of what was meant and what was actually.
We're starting to embark upon some unnavigated waters.
good. So one of the things that, so Bob mentioned that we have a December 20th planning and zoning meeting. This is a real important meeting for Bob and apparently this whole process. There's myself, Andrew, Bob, Courtney Day is going to join us from KPN Towing to share his experience on the water. And Phil Purcell is coming from MIASF to obviously speak from that slant. Bob has asked us to put together some AV materials. Will, would you put up number 3, please? So I reached out, this is from Haley Day, it's Courtney's daughter. This is a pretty good one. You're all probably familiar with that bridge and where this is going. One of the concerns previous videos showed was a lot of room on either side to pass, not a lot of room to pass here. I have other ones from Courtney that are farther west of this and.
What size boat is that?
I think it's
About
165.
Yeah.
I'd say,
those ones.
actually, I tried to.
The reason.
Exactly.
So,
It took like
look,
30.
we're gonna go to planning and zoning, we're gonna show them some videos. We have this, we have other ones again that show, more of what's happening on the west side, heading up toward Little Florida. But I think we're gonna make a compelling argument that, things are getting more tight there. So, we're gonna put together some materials. We'll make sure we share it with you as well. So that's gonna be our presentation. Did you notice? Go ahead, Bill.
So this meeting on the 20th is just to get the approval to get entered in the moratorium at planning and zoning?
Because we are impacting the zoning code,
Correct.
planning and zoning has jurisdiction. It's got to go make sure that it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan.
Got it.
And then they make the recommendation, then it goes to the city commission.
Got it. And then from there, then we got 1 year to figure it out.
Once it's adopted, I measured it from the effective date of the adoption of the resolution, the 1-year period. Yes.
So, a few other things. There was a joint workshop, Broward County Board of County Commissioners on New River Crossing the other day. I don't know who attended it. This was about the bridge, obviously. We didn't have a chance to talk to the mayor, but we know what the mayor's preference is. I just want to be aware, everybody aware of the fact this is going on. I don't need to bore everybody with the results, et cetera, but it seems, I'm not going to say which way it's leaning. Is there progress being made? They're talking. So there's an element that's going on.
But isn't one of the big issues is that it's really driven and owned by Broward County? It's Fort Lauderdale just has a voice because I was at that commission meeting and that was one of the aha moments that a lot of people had is that the Broward person actually got up and told the commissioner that, no, we're in charge. You get a voice, but we're in charge.
Don't know.
So that was kind of.
I don't know why politics would ever play a role in something
Yeah, I know.
like this. So if that's out there, guys, you know.
That, because I actually just listened to the whole 2.5 hour meeting. or
Wasn't that
whatever.
wonderful?
Well, actually, YouTube and Vimeo allow you to play it on fast forward speed.
Double time.
Yeah, so I got through it in about half the time, but I think the sentiment about it being, the project being owned by Broward is that it's not just about the crossing of the new river, but it's about the entire corridor and the passenger rail system that will be operating from the county line in the Broward, Miami County line, all the way to, I guess, Deerfield Beach. So the idea is that the city won't be operating the whole system, it's the county that would be leading that effort. And in order to get federal funding, you can't just apply for federal funding for a bridge. It has to be an application of federal funding for the entire project to include the rail system as well.
Well.
That's what I got from.
That's exactly it.
So I only bring it up again because as we talk about the moratorium, my argument always is, no matter what we do with the moratorium, unless you address the bridge issue, we still have an issue. And I'll leave it at that. Couple other things. This came up some time ago. Bill Walker does definitely not need this, but this is a cheat sheet. I know we talk about things like Duxville, the Wiggles, etc. This will not be attached, but if anybody really wants to know where these are, I stole this from somebody, and you start inbound and you head up further west. And I will pass these around because frankly, I kept one in my boat for the longest time until I figured out where these spots were. We're talking about them often. Mark, are you still here? You fall asleep. So Mark,
Yeah, I know, right?
code enforcement. Marco, one of the things I'd love to get from you, and I don't know if Mr. Cuba has this available, but when we have folks attend these meetings, we should have this. You know, this is a common waterway code violations, but it also shows the waterway standards that are here. Any materials like this, if we can get them for Andrew, we'd love to have them to pass out to folks.
Have almost a pallet of them in our.
That'd be great. How about a quick update from you?
Not much. Much to update besides seawall breaches in my life. As far as code goes, at the next meeting, I already figured it out. I'm gonna have stats for you guys as far as how many cases we have open on water, what the most common violations are, stuff like that. I'll start bringing those to the meetings. Other than that, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm out there every day seeing all the things that you guys.
Question.
Yes.
If I come on, they give me a waiver for 60-foot. Doesn't give me the right to do a 75-foot boat. It only gave me the waiver to go out to 60 feet.
Whatever is on the waiver, yes, and that's something that I wouldn't even see. More than likely, you'd end up getting cited by me, and then you'd have to provide me with that waiver. That's not something that we get a copy of when there's a waiver.
We had this, we had an issue with this, it's an ongoing issue. And one of the things that, and I'll toss it to Bob because he's going to answer it much better than I can, is how we deal with this.
Well, frankly, I think the best solution to that would be to put a limitation on the length of the vessel to coincide with how far out that mooring pile is. Because these guys are going to have difficulties determining the length of the vessel. What's interesting was when I was looking at the annexed area off of Riverland Road, there is a provision in there that says that the vessel cannot be berthed more than 33% of the width of the canal. We have nothing in our basic ULDR that limits how far out the vessel may be berthed. I think that that's something that'll probably flow out of our moratorium. Yes.
Yeah, so the annexed area, we enforce the 33%, that includes the dock. So from seawall out, can't be more than 33%. Rest of the city, we do the 30%. And we get complaints every day, all over the city about that. There is oversized vessels everywhere.
What's the teeth? I mean,
Yeah, money.
When you cite something, what is actually complying them or telling them that pay this fine or do or remove the boat? I swear.
So we can't actually remove the boat. The power that we have would be to fine them daily.
But you're not finding the boat owner either.
No,
You're
the
finding
property
the
owner.
homeowner.
Yes.
So like, we had a,
Well,
we
you're
had a
not allowed
couple,
to rent your dog.
right, but we had a couple months ago, we had a gentleman come in for a waiver that had just bought a,
Excuse me. We have 3 meetings going on.
we had a gentleman that had just bought a condo. And he was gonna demolish it, rebuild a condo, and he wanted to redo, but he had boats that were left there. And he couldn't get them removed, like they weren't leaving. And we denied adding or changing his pilings. If I remember right, his pilings were at like 38 and he wanted to bring them to 35. But we denied him because of how big the boats that were sitting there.
Right.
And he's like, I don't want them there, but I'm getting the fines. I can't get them removed and no one.
That's a civil matter that he'd have to handle with whoever he allowed to tie the boats up there.
Well, he did.
Or if someone illegally dumped them there.
Previous owner.
How the boats got there, that is not the city's issue. The city's issue is that the boat is too big. And he's the homeowner or property owner that's allowing those boats to be there. That is the only.
Does the fine put a lien on the property?
Yes,
On the
Yeah.
property?
yes.
Okay.
But then it's homestead.
Yeah, so we can't foreclose on the property,
Yeah.
however, it
You
is.
can reduce it to a judgment and then go and lien the vessel.
And, right, that's, if you lien the vessel, then the vessel could eventually be removed.
Correct.
If you lien the
Or-
property
or-
owner
Or sold.
or sold,
Yes.
right? Because again, I had an issue too, where we have guys, the barges are dumping stuff on empty land right next to my house. And I've tried to stop them and they don't care because the property owner will get in trouble if code enforcement comes out and sees a bunch of junk there. You know what I mean? So they're gonna get fined. They don't care.
So
So,
do you
Fill
see
out
something?
water service. They come frequently because we have property next door to us that they do that. And they're showing up daily
yeah,
and taking people and other things away. Because there's bums that are there too.
I just don't see if we can't stop or put something against the boat itself, you're not gonna
Yeah.
stop this over. Because nobody cares until they go sell their house. And then they just, 10 years from now, they pay the fines that they've had and sell the house.
Yes, the other day we had one.
Because it's cheaper probably to have the fine than it is to move the boat to a marina that.
Yeah,
pay that
I think
footage.
it was on Solar Isle, we had a boat that was taking up over half of the canal. There was a couple of boat owners that could not leave because this person had a catamaran that was for sale that he tied up behind his house. I had that discussion with my supervisor. What can we do besides daily fines? Because we're at this point not allowing the public to use the waterway and because no one can get around it. So we're looking into what we can do further than that, besides just daily fines, because there's a lot of people in the city that will accrue daily fines for 20 years. They don't care about coming into compliance. So for something like that, what can be done?
Yeah.
So we
we're
have
trying to
some
figure
fire
it out.
compliance going down that canal?
This is what we're trying to find out.
You do because all the lots have to have the numbers written on them, fire from the water side.
Yeah, I don't know if the fire department can just remove the
Interesting.
boat or what they can
So we
do.
gotta go down there. Do it on land.
Yeah. they
So
go
that's what
through.
we're in the process of trying to find out, what we can do in a situation.
False fire.
Mark, I have a question for you.
you.
Generally speaking, the laws in the state of Florida have been changed so that
Move that.
there needs to be a complaint made.
Well,
Do-
yes and no.
And this, okay. And I know that that's problematical because a lot of times you've got a neighbor who's carrying on horrible activities, but you report them and now you've got a range war going on. Do you go out through the waterway and seek out violations?
Absolutely.
Okay,
There is a lot of people that are under the misconception that we can only respond to complaints. That is not the case. I can go open up a case on anything I see. However, if someone is telling us about it, we have to put you down as a complainant. It is against state statute for us to investigate, to even go out and investigate or look at anonymous complaints. We cannot take them. We will not go out and look at them. We can keep them in the back of our minds and a couple weeks from now, see if proactively we can cite it, but we can't just take anonymous complaints.
Thank you, thank you. There's a few other, does anybody else have any questions? Thank you. There's a.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
We're pretty much done. There's a handful of things I saw. There's an article that was in the most recent, I don't know, voting magazine that talks, I'm gonna give this to John Luscombe. It's Invest a Few Minutes, Help Fight Water Pollution, Sea Grant Campaign, promoting pump outs, marine heads, et cetera. So there's a program going on that's behind the scenes. I'll share it with John, et cetera, that hopefully we can get more pump out stations and so on. It's ridiculous if you'll hear folks ask on the water, is there anywhere to go to pump out? I mean, there are stations available, and as the mayor said, clean water and pooping in the water is one of our concerns this year. So I just tossed it out there. It's something to be concerned about. I'm going to pursue finding out what this is, and I'll share it with John as well. Beyond that, number 5, please. So this is the water. It was outside my house last night. I have a light in there, et cetera. But and that's my little dog, affectionately referred to as Fluffy by Andrew. But what I noticed is how clean the water is, and just a joy to look at. Tide comes and goes, et cetera. But I want to leave you with this. This is what I hope it looks like. I hope our kids can swim in it. And working together, I think it's something we're going to accomplish. So with that, I'm going to ask someone for a motion to resolve this meeting tonight. If I can have a motion, please, from somebody,
Motion to close.
please, and Ed second. And with that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all next year. Thank you very much.
In
Thank you, Steve.
general question. So last night, we had our.
Anybody know what